yeah, you can call me an entrepreneur if you want to call me an entrepreneur. I don't like the word. I do like the word entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial spirit, like you said. And I think it's just one of those things that it's something that an individual needs to display and demonstrate.
I think entrepreneurship shows that it's being done, whereas like entrepreneur, if you're like either self-labeling or whatever, and you haven't done call, then you're like the entrepreneur is kind of the end product, or the label, but the entrepreneurship is in the doing, and that's more important. Is like in the doing is always better than the label.
Where do we start? Let's start off with, we said this last time we spoke, I hate the word entrepreneur. I would never call myself an entrepreneur prior to being an entrepreneur. I don't like the word. Let
me tell you the word, the dictionary definition. All right. So this will actually set the tone for, I suppose, where we're going to go. So the dictionary definition of an entrepreneur, and this is by the Oxford Languages, is a person who sets up a business or businesses taking on financial risk in the hope of profit. So that's that one. There was another one from Investopia, which is an entrepreneur is an individual who creates new business, bearing most of the risk and enjoying most of the rewards. Entrepreneurship that proves to be successful in taking on the risk and creating a startup is rewarded with profits, fame, and continued growth opportunities. So that is essentially what Google says is an entrepreneur. So why are there so many fucking people out there calling themselves entrepreneurs that haven't done jack shit yet?
He started with the rant. He started with the rant.
No, I haven't started with the rant, but I just wanted to set the tone because I don't know, like back when we were growing up, 80s styly, like entrepreneurs weren't a thing like they are now. I mean, they were, but they were. Do you know what I mean? Like this whole.
It wasn't a word. Like it. Well, it was a word. It obviously existed, but no one would actually talk about it.
But they were labelled to people who were actually doing them. So, like Branson was like obviously king of the 80s, wasn't he? When we were growing up, you know, whether it was restarting the airline, Virgin Records, all that kind of stuff.
He's the original entrepreneur. Yeah, definitely.
But thinking back, can you think of any other like today? If you were going to go and talk to, I don't know, the equivalent. So what I was probably 8 or 9 in 87, 88.
Yeah.
7 or 8. So if you'd have asked me back then, I'd have probably been able to tell you, if someone said to me, you know, who do you know who's an entrepreneur? I would have probably been able to say Richard Branson. I would have, but then I think that would have been it. Do you know, that would have been probably all I could have probably mustered. But like today,
everyone's an entrepreneur today.
It's everywhere. It is everywhere, which I suppose is a good thing and a bad thing in a certain way. But it's just like how did we get from that kind of 80s kind of where it was the like if you'd done something significant like a Branson or like that, then you got that title. It was almost like a badge of honor being called an entrepreneur. Whereas like today, you've got little Steve sat behind his computer, done absolutely nothing, set up an Instagram shop selling absolutely nothing, calling himself an entrepreneur in his bio.
Yeah.
So I just can't figure out how we got from there to there.
I reckon it's because of the internet. It's because of places like YouTube, places that like the internet famous type thing, because entrepreneurship or entrepreneurs as a whole now are fashionable or are people's heroes now, where those weren't our heroes before. They would, you know, you'd hear it in the background, and like you said, like a Branson, and then came I don't know, a Bill Gates, for example, or, you know, rich personalities, essentially, individuals. But now it's because I think that's the thing. I think the actual context of it, I think, is good because we were brought up in school, which the education system is still the same. And we read this all, if you read self-help books, you read the fact that in school, you're educated to become an employee, not an employer. And as an employer, you become an entrepreneur, essentially. But then nowadays, the information is so accessible through the internet, and there are more and more employers or business owners or so-called business owners doing shit for themselves that are posting about it, and obviously that information is just all over the place, especially
you see it a lot faster.
But yeah,
like back then though, like if you look at it's funny actually, because if you look at, I suppose, like what I would call like sort of like the mighty entrepreneurs. So yeah, we can lump Branson in with that bracket because of whatever. You've got obviously Elon Musk, you've got Bill Gates, Bezos. You know, you've got all of those that are kind of like now the celebrity-fied entrepreneur, because they're kind of mixing between various worlds. You know, they're dating Hollywood film stars, all this kind of stuff. They're kind of blended and merging both worlds, but yet they've actually achieved things that are ridiculously significant. But what makes me wonder whether this whole entrepreneur thing has come or where it's come from is the segue between like massively flexing online in terms of like bling, show cars, all that kind of stuff. There's a massive disconnect between the actually wealthy, super mega rich that are entrepreneurs and that I'm going to flex on Instagram and my AP and my SLS and all this kind of stuff. So at some point, it made that jump from, I mean, you look at Branson, you look at Mark Zuckerberg, you look at like Bezos, you look at Elon Musk, all that kind of stuff. Generally speaking, you won't see a Gucci belt amongst them. You know, like they literally look like they've been pushed through Primark or H&M and come out the other side. You know, and that's kind of just how they roll, isn't it?
Yeah.
At some point, and this is where I think the majority of like this kind of entrepreneur kind of like flex all over Instagram and not actually done anything significant is come from like this huge kind of lack of delayed gratification. So if you look at like a Branson and all that kind of stuff, like back in the day, they lived by everything that they made, and I mean everything just went back in. Like they didn't pay themselves a frigging bean, you know. They were like sleeping on people's floors. They were investing back into the business at such a rate that they didn't even have time to go shopping, let alone go and like flex all over. Or maybe they did and we just didn't see it because the internet didn't exist. But I kind of like to think that that's probably not how it happened. Yeah. And I think that it's what's really spoiled the word and spoiled the mystique of an entrepreneur is like how things are today. Because it like people are making it look like they've gone broke trying to look rich, for one, and two, they've tried to make it look like what's been achieved has been so easy, and they aren't showing the journey. They're just either showing the payoff or they're just showing what they've gone into debt to show the payoff for it.
Yeah, well, it's like, I think you've got the word entrepreneur, and then people are sticking things in between it, on top of it, and in front of it, like serial entrepreneur. Like for me, there's a serial entrepreneur who's someone who is bought and sold companies at profit, risk takers that have paid off, that are, let's call it, wealthy, hugely wealthy, financially free. So could that be classed as a serial entrepreneur? Then you've got people that are coined terms like solopreneur, one-trepreneur, mom-trepreneur, freaking just stick the trepreneur on freaking anything. And then all of a sudden it's like, but essentially it's just, number one, it's opened up to these kind of social entrepreneurs. Another one, it's like, what is a social entrepreneur? Is that just someone that's on social media, or someone that shouts off the rooftops about trying to help other people leave their jobs and so on? But then there's also entrepreneurs or business owners that have been successful through wealth, that have that don't want to go anywhere near shouting off the rooftops about it. They just go about their way. But then you've also got someone like Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent, that has made it through a degree of talent, hard work, hustle, but then have gone, do you know what, I'm going to take that and I'm going to go and build multiple businesses out of what I've earned from my talent. You see it with sports athletes. You see it with even like, you know, Tiny Tempup, for example. He's on this show. Obviously, we're filming in the UK, but he's on this show in the UK regarding house extensions. And I didn't know, because I literally the other day I was like, oh, where's Tiny Temper gone? And you know, he'd done an album, whatever. But he's been in property development for 10 years, and he's in fashion design. So that is that's a true entrepreneur as such. So you've got it from a point of like, the true definition, I think, is always sketchy. Going back to that whole kind of rant side of things like social media gives the opportunity for people to mask over, to, like, you know, you said, like the fake aeroplane or hanging outside a Lambo that isn't even yours, you know, that kind of stuff, and putting it out there that you are an entrepreneur. For me, well, actually, I'll ask you this question: what does entrepreneur mean to you, as a definition or as a sentence? Like, what do you class as a true? I don't know. I hate saying the word. I hate the word. I just don't like the word.
For me, it's someone who's created a profit from nothing. You know, so, and that covers. It doesn't matter whether that's, you know, finance or it doesn't matter whether that is franchise or anything else. It's someone who's created a profit and, you know, continual cash flow from something out of nothing. So that's either formulation of a product, a service, or something that they have been able to bring to market and sell, create cash flow for a profit. Now, if they're doing more of that for me, I wouldn't say that's an entrepreneur. I'd say that's entrepreneurial spirit. Okay, you know, that's entrepreneurial spirit. It's then how you grow that ecosystem in order to maximize the profit and the cash flow from that thing that you've kind of created. Because I would say it's entrepreneurial spirit to, I don't know, go cook jam in your kitchen, then go and sell the jars at a profit on the local stand. I wouldn't necessarily call them an entrepreneur. I would say that's entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
Now, if they then started this and they took it from the kitchen table to a mass production factory, so now there's people all around even their county, going out to these market stores and what have you, selling jam on behalf. Now we're talking what I think is an entrepreneur, because they've taken that moment that you can extricate yourself from the process and be able to take a bird's eye view without the cash flow and the profit being affected. I think that's where you make that shift from it being entrepreneurship to actually being an entrepreneur. That's kind of how I see it.
Do you class yourself as an entrepreneur?
Ooh. Now, because I hate if someone was to call me an entrepreneur, I would hate it. So for me to call myself an entrepreneur, I would probably hate it.
Yeah,
I think I'm.
It's the same as like I hate the word guru. I would never call myself a guru. Someone wants to call me a guru, fine. I hate the word. The exact same as I hate the word entrepreneur. Where I see it, like I wouldn't. If someone went, "Oh, what do you do?" and I'm an entrepreneur. Look, I'd never say that. And if someone said that to me, I'd be like, dick.
I think entrepreneur is something that someone else calls you if they believe you to be that person, based on their understanding of whatever an entrepreneur is. For myself, I would say if we took it on the explanation that I just gave, then I would say yes, based on someone else calling me it, with them knowing and understanding my business, because I've taken something from nothing, turned a profit, created decent cash flow from it, gone invested that somewhere else, started something else in the same kind of manner, and I'm building that too. So I suppose if you took that on basis of what I said, then yeah, I would, because it's gone beyond entrepreneurship to a regular cash flowing
And I think that's it. My son's phoning me, and he never phones me, and he keeps phoning me.
Well, sorry, it's rolling because
it's got to be important. Like
people love it. You should put it on speakerphone.
Hello.
Let's say if you had like set fire to the kitchen or something like that.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I can't hear you. So it's now fucked up my. Oh, for crying out loud. Hang on.
But we can chop this bit out anyway. So you just phone him back and do what you need to do. Can you hear me?
See, now my audio is fucked.
Can you hear me? No?
All because of my son.
It's a family show, people.
Now I can't hear you.
I can still hear you. I can hear you.
My headphones are in, but I can't hear you. Right there. Hello.
I can hear you.
Right, now I can hear you.
You probably just have to reconnect your AirPods.
There you go. Let's try that. I can hear you now. Back in the room.
I was like, you should leave that in because it's real life. Probably not. No. Did you actually find out what was up with him?
No, he didn't answer. I'm going to phone him back. We're going to find out what is up with this kid. I bet you, right? This is the thing, yeah? Phones me 5 times in a row. So I'm thinking he never phones. He always texts. What time is it? He's just come out of school.
Is it our style?
Oh, no, don't press that. What's up? I'm on a call.
Oh, okay.
What's up?
You know at school today how I did double football?
Yeah.
I think
You played really well in football.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. We're gonna have to do this afterwards, Leo. Sorry, mate. I'm on a call, on a live call. So can I call you back in about an hour? I thought it was like an emergency or something. All right. Okay. I'll call you back. All right. I'll call you in an hour. I love you. Okay. Bye. Okay. Bye. Now we're pissed off because I've ignored.
That must be a Welsh thing going bye.
Yeah.
My best mate does it.
See you later.
Yeah, it's just like you get a million buys on the end. It's like bye. Like, could you just put it down after one?
I know. But some people they just hang up. Like when you're like you go bye and do like it's like.
I'm not going to go off on a tangent here, but how many people don't say bye on American shows?
Yeah, I know. I've seen that, and like they literally just hang up. It's like I don't think
we'll sit on our sofa and we'll like watch it. And actually, Suits is the best one for it. No one ever says like bye in Suits. So like whenever they're on the phone and they just like put it down, me and Saf always just go, try them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've done it. Do you think that is just an American mannerism or etiquette, phone etiquette, where you just don't say bye?
I don't know. We need to find that out.
Just on movies. So yeah. Definitely. I'd love to know whether all Americans just hang up. They just get to the point where like there's enough of a pause to just go.
Yeah.
That's it.
In fact, you know what I'm going to do? One of my good friends is from Dallas. I'm going to voice note him now and I'm going to ask him and we'll see whether we actually get a response. I know this is like a segue to our entrepreneurship, but.
That's fine. What time is it in Dallas though?
Oh no, he's not in Dallas. He lives in Czech. He's an interesting guy. Actually, we should get him on here. Like he's had about 17 lifetimes in one. Like to the point of like owned a NASCAR. Honestly, mate, like, he's nuts. His story is nuts. Okay, let me see what he says.
Now I feel really bad that I cut myself.
Will you do me a favor? So I'm just having a conversation about American TV programs, and what we've noticed is on American TV programs, no one ever says bye when they put the phone down. They just hang up. They just completely don't say a word. They just like finish the conversation, don't say bye, hang up. Now, is that an American thing? Does that actually happen in American culture, or is it just on the show? So if you can let me know, that would be great. Wait,
nice. Let's find out.
So I got full on Texas drawl as well.
Is it?
Yeah, man.
I'm loving Texans now that I've listened to Matthew McConaughey's book, and I started True Detective. I'm just like all over the whole
Matthew McConaughey. He is an entrepreneur. Like, if you look at his,
but he'd never call himself an entrepreneur.
No, definitely not. But when you kind of, I suppose, understand how he deals with his with how he creates his kind of ecosystem. And I know it's a little bit different for someone who's perhaps a celebrity, a face, you know, like a Dwayne Johnson. People will batter down their doors to do deals with him because he's like the Midas touch license to print money.
He's the trend as well, isn't he?
He is, but also he's very, very shrewd. You know, so you would call him an entrepreneur because he can see deals. He can see he's actually not dissimilar to his character in Ballers, actually, which is just the most awesome. In fact, I need to watch that again because I've
started it. I didn't get into it. I just didn't. The thing, like with that, again, going off on another tangent, with that, I felt like I like ones where I know, like mini ones where there is a season. But it's the same as Entourage. Like I reckon I was entertained by Entourage, but it felt like it was one of those where it was just ongoing. It was like a sitcom.
Yeah.
Stroke soap opera.
Ballers came to an end, so like it did go through the phases, I suppose, of a narrative and with an ending. So you kind of have to persevere with it. I think it's only 4 seasons, so I need to give that a go. I'll have to put it on the list in between Dallas.
Talking about
Dynasty, not Dallas. Yeah, Dynasty.
Dynasty.
Yeah. No, the Dynasty's a guilty pleasure, so that's just out the window. But another one about entrepreneurship, like Dynasty is all about entrepreneurship. Talking about Entourage, Mark Wahlberg, another perfect example. Yes. But again, the caveat is here's a question for you. Would you call someone who is, and I personally would, someone who is a figure of fame or a result of fame to then utilize their capital from what they've got and their own persona, like a Dwayne Johnson, to start spanning off into multiple companies and starting multiple companies? Would you call that an entrepreneur?
100%, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
100%, because it's a case of them, like that Tiny Temper example, or Matthew McConaughey.
Look at Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah,
he was a millionaire from entrepreneurship even before he set foot on a movie screen.
Yeah, we talk about Curtis Jackson or 50 Cent, however you want to see it.
He kind of started in drugs though.
Yeah.
But to be fair, hey, look, you cannot get, and you know, this is controversial and what have you, but if you look at the drugs industry as a business, there is no better entrepreneurship than within, if you looked at how drugs find their way from manufacture through to end user. You know, the supply demand, the whole thing. If you took the violence out of it, it'd be almost
But the only difference is the product is illegal.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's or the service or whatever it is. The product is illegal. So, or what they do, but it's still the same essence. And here's my opinion on it is, you can call me an entrepreneur if you want to call me an entrepreneur. I don't like the word. I do like the word entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial spirit, like you said. And I think it's just one of those things that it's something that an individual needs to display and demonstrate.
I think entrepreneurship shows that it's being done. Whereas like entrepreneur, if you're like either self-labeling or whatever, and you haven't done fuck all, then you're like, the entrepreneur is kind of the end product, or the label, but the entrepreneurship is in the doing. And that's more important. Is like in the doing is always better than the label.
Yeah. You know? And delivering on that doing is where you then become, regardless of whether you're selling something illegal. Yeah. You started off in the movie game, or you were given a shitload of cash and a shitload of opportunity because your dad's rich. Doesn't matter. Like another example, Eddie Hearn, the boxing thing. He's an entrepreneur. All right, you know, everyone says he started off this way. However, he still he's still gone and made something for himself out of his own money and has become Eddie Hearn, not Eddie Barry Hearn's son.
No, exactly.
So,
have you read his book? Have you read his book yet?
Yeah, it's good.
It's good. It's a well written book.
I only read entrepreneurial books. Exactly. And so I think that the terminology of being an entrepreneur has to come from what you do on a whatever daily basis, how your mindset thinks. Because even it was weird, because I always used to think about it from a point of view of when I was working for someone. I was an employee. Now, I had an entrepreneurial spirit as an employee, but I'd never call myself, even though I won't call myself now, but I'd never think, oh yeah, I could privately call myself an entrepreneur. I couldn't, because I didn't own anything, didn't own a business. But then, like,
you can see opportunities on how you would exploit it if you were in the situation. But like, no one can really say, oh yeah, I'm going to get. No one can really say is I'm going to do that entrepreneurship. You can't. It's an impossible sentence to one, try and say, but two, actually do, because the actual entrepreneurship is the doing. So you can't say I'm going to do entrepreneurship, and because then that's because you're just not. Because I'm gonna.
There are a course on entrepreneurship.
I'm going to be an entrepreneur. Well, well, no, you like either are or you're not. If not, then you have entrepreneurial spirit and working towards being a serial entrepreneur or whatever. I actually thought a serial entrepreneur was like someone like Kellogg's that make cereal. I like legit. I was like, serial entrepreneur. Get some granola made. But
it's got loads of different flavors and different.
I don't think things like reality TV have helped a lot, because I think it's painted a really weird picture of, and I also think that like people who, if you go down, I suppose, the Instagram route or social media route, and you see this kind of entrepreneur, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing the other. I think a lot of that has a lot to do with the reality TV stuff, where things are kind of just handed to you on a plate because you've signed up to go and do a reality game show or something along those lines, and it's made to look like what you get off the back end is easy. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, I do, to an extent. Like when you talk about reality TV, are you talking about live, mainstream TV, or
if you
look
and
stuff like that?
And this probably isn't the best example or whatever, but if you look at, I suppose, the people's rise to fame through doing stuff. So if you take say a Ryland, for example, or an Alison Hammond or something along those lines. So like Big Brother and X Factor or Pop Idol, whatever he did, that's kind of flash to bang of being turning up and being featured on a show because you were going in there as a singer, then then presenting arguably on one of the most watched TV programs like Strictly Come Dancing, Take Two, that kind of stuff. That gap in the middle looks extremely short to be able to go and just be like a character on a reality show to actually then having a significant job that requires talent and actually hard work and able to pull it off. Same with say your Alison Hammonds and that kind of stuff. Or
that's not classed as entrepreneurship in my opinion, because it's not. All they've done is got a better job. They've utilized that, whatever you want to call it, fame, 5 minutes of fame, opportunity to go, do you know what, I'm going to, they've been offered a higher paying job and they've taken it. But to be honest, I don't even think.
Well, that's my point.
Would they call themselves entrepreneurs? But if they went off and created a music label or created a beauty product or I don't know, opened up a restaurant or a chain of restaurants, then yes, I would. They've obviously taken, everyone should take the opportunity that they're given and have a mindset to spot those opportunities. He obviously turned up at an audition. They both did. They got through. They got on telly in front of the cameras. He did, and well done, for doing that. then off the back of that, because there's so many people that have done that and finished a show and gone.
That's my
nowhere.
point. It's like people trying to shortcut the process because they intrinsically link being an entrepreneur to being this like famous, blingy, showy, barrels of cash kind of persona with what am I trying to say? So it's almost like you go and put yourself forward for these kind of things in order to shortcut that process of actually starting and grafting and 10 years down the line of grafting hard to do something by taking that shortcut of, do you know what, I'm just going to go, because I think they link together that the entrepreneur thing and actually being famous and people knowing them.
Yeah,
like they're almost two completely different things. So like, let's get on the easiest route possible, which is reality TV, because anybody can. You don't need talent to go on a reality TV show. You need talent to stand there and be able to read auto cue like Ant and Dec and all that kind of stuff. That's a skill that's got to be honed. But actually, to just go up, be yourself, be a dick and fuck around on an island with a load of girls and all that kind of stuff, and then try and make something off the back of it, I think has become like quite a a shortcut, but also like a preferred route for all these idiots that flex on Instagram, call themselves entrepreneurs. They're not. They just want to get on frigging Love Island, pop out the other end with a deal for 6 figures with Pretty Little Thing or whatever, and then go on and call themselves an entrepreneur. And that showy kind of bullshit flexing, I think
half of it is like it's a lottery, isn't it? It's winning, like, and that's why so many people want to do it, because they do see that as the easy route, right, into success. Yeah. But on that note, then, let me ask you a question. Would you consider Kim Kardashian and Kylie Jenner as entrepreneurs?
Yeah.
So would I. And I don't class them as talentless either. I think they've taken an opportunity, be it a sex tape into a live television, live TV show.
I think they're clever at they're extremely clever marketers, for want of a better word. But I suppose they are the perfect example of people who surround themselves with very clever people, yet they still hold the reins. So they understand that they are the brand and they have the power, but they also have the ability to essentially employ anybody they want. They can go and pick the best of the best, and essentially escalate that to within an inch of its life. And when you look at the entrepreneurship that's come from the family, like there's no denying
it's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. Like, they like. What they do isn't like when people will say that they're lazy or they're talentless, because that's the gripe that you have with people calling themselves an entrepreneur. It's someone lazy, to be talentless, to just set up a company name, or even just go and set up a limited company or set up an Instagram profile and say, I'm an entrepreneur, yet they haven't done anything.
Well, if you look at the Kardashians, like, to create $1 billion company, you cannot not be an entrepreneur. You can't do that without being a certain level of person. And they're incredibly smart. And they're incredibly smart in the fact that they can build a brand like nothing you've seen. A personal brand like nothing you've seen before.
Yeah, definitely.
And then be able to utilize the leverage of that personal brand to go into, which one is actually now the billionaire? Is it Kendall or
Kylie or Kendall? I think,
one of the two. But then to be able to identify that, because there's one thing being able to use your leverage. There's the other side of the coin, which is being able to keep on top of it and not get screwed. Part of the fun, other than it's Kardashian, so likely in the first place. But you see what I mean, right? So actually having that knowledge, even that knowledge, to be able to have people who can look at what you're looking to do and say, actually, I can see how this is going to make money, is a skill in itself. Because when you're at that level, there's so many people working twice as hard to try and take it away from you. So in order to maintain where they're at, they've got to have some skills that are completely
definitely.
Decamillionaires.
All right, then, on that note, skills and traits that make people entrepreneurs.
Well, I'll tell you what it's not. Getting up at 5 o'clock, walking up a mountain to be a monk, milking the teat of a yak and sipping down on that milk while meditating for 4 hours. That's not what it is.
And reading self-help books constantly.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. There's a place for, and it's funny, we were having this conversation. I've just got back from a networking event that I support in my obviously hometown and what have you. And there was a woman there who just started a new business, and I sort of felt sorry for her, because I felt both sorry and envious in a weird way, because she's kind of like that exciting bit of like, she's found something she wants to do. She's like still working in a kitchen, that kind of stuff, and yada yada. But I just like the cluelessness and the naivety of her. I just thought you're gonna get absolutely bounced. And there was people in the room recommending books and all this kind of stuff, and there's a place for that kind of stuff, obviously, because I've got a big frigging bookshelf full of the stuff.
Reading is crucial. Reading is important, whether it be self-help books, whether it be biographies, autobiographies, fiction, whatever. Reading is crucial for anyone's education.
Yeah, definitely. It's just that there has to be that point between the reading and the doing.
Yeah.
For instance, the doing, even if you're making the mistakes and all of that kind of stuff, it's the gold is in the doing, or the applying.
The doing and the
application of what you've read to actually into existence, not just, oh yeah, I've read 10 pages of this and done absolutely fuck all with it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's entrepreneurs are doers. That's the skill set. Obviously, it's people that actually apply what they learn from those books or learn from those mistakes and do something different rather than doing the same thing.
I think like there's this big emphasis, and you see it everywhere, like, oh, you've got to get up at a sparrow's fart or fucking 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, something like that. I just think that's complete bullshit. And here's why: because the circadian rhythm that everybody's wired differently to how body function.
Back from the caveman days, right?
Well, yeah, they'd go to bed and they'd get up with the sun, right? And how you operate, we've all got different kind of, I don't know whether it's biorhythmic rhythms or I'm probably just butchering the term or what have you, but like if you go to bed at midnight and you get up at 6 and you're knackered, or you're not, there's the difference between getting up and feeling that morning kind of drowsiness, because I don't think anybody leaps out of bed, swans around the living room, goes to take their ice bath or whatever. I just don't think legit, that happens. I think there are people that are more in tune and in line with maybe waking up at say 5 o'clock or whatever, being cool with it, being whatever. And then there's those that wake up at 9 o'clock and they feel like the person that wake up at 5 o'clock. But the difference is that person that wakes up at 9 o'clock maybe goes to bed at 2 a.m. Mm-hmm. So if they're going to put in the work and the what have you.
It's not a case of getting up early. It's a case of when you are up, what are you doing?
Yeah. And you got to remember as well is that most entrepreneurship starts while people are already still in day jobs. When they're still working the 9 to 5 or the 8 to 6 or something like that, and they're building from the outset from there. So they may have no choice to get up 2 hours early, go to bed 4 hours later than they normally. Yeah. But that's that part of that cycle. But I think once you're there and you've covered your basic overheads, you've got that financial, I'm going to call it financial freedom, but I'm going to say you've covered your basics of what your outgoings are, and you're then able to perhaps quit your job and then start maybe paying yourself a little bit. That's when you get the ability to choose when you go to bed, when you get up,
what you do,
depending on what it is that you're doing as for business.
I think what's more important is a routine, the right routine, and to battle bad habits and change them to good habits. What works for one person doesn't necessarily work for another, and so on. So I agree. I don't think it's about getting up early. I do think it's about discipline, self-discipline.
I think you need to figure out as well, and the discipline comes in from actually understanding and figuring out how you function yourself. So if you get by and you're absolutely cool on 6 hours sleep, then you do that. But if you're complete baggage and you make bad decisions, or you're not you're not wired to sleep 6 hours, and no matter how hard you try, you're still fucked, then you sleep 8 hours because you're much more productive.
I'm more productive. I'm an early bird, and I am more productive when I wake up early.
Mhm.
So I will be a 5 a.m., 6 a.m. person, wake up, because I know that those hours up until 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon are probably my peak hours of productivity.
Yeah.
If I need to work late, I will. But sometimes, most of the time, when it's past 8, like I can't do 10 till 1 a.m. and work as productively. And sometimes I'm like, I should be resting at this point, because it means I can get up at 6, and go again, rather than me try and battle and get half the work done at night time when I don't function as well. Whereas a lot of people switch on at 10 o'clock and they can really do a shed load between then and 2, 3 in the morning.
Yeah.
And so
I think
on.
I think if I listened to my own kind of like rhythm or whatever, and went on that kind of just like say no alarm clock or anything like that, I think my natural would be probably go to sleep at 1 and get up at 9. I think that would, like, if I was just allowed to let my body do what it wanted to do, I think that would be probably the ratio. Maybe 8, maybe half 8, 9, but it would certainly be sort of that 1 o'clock-ish kind of through till 9. But I still kind of force myself out at 7, so I'll go to bed at probably midnight, get up at 7. So I know I'm getting 7 hours. 7 hours is good. Any more is great. Any less is it starts to have a bit of.
I can operate on 6. And
well,
less
I was
than 6, and I feel
I was in the forces, so obviously being in the forces, like you have to implement discipline in order to do the things you need to do. So you can fight against your body clock, and you can really work hard to. I mean, at one point we were doing 2 hours on, 2 hours off, like throughout the night, which is graft in itself. Because you never actually get really into that deep REM sleep and all that kind of stuff. So 2 hours on, 2 hours off throughout the night, that takes some discipline in order to not be a complete nut the next day. Obviously don't need to do that now, but I know I've got it in the locker. If I needed to pull an all-nighter, or if I need to do something,
to do it.
You've got it in the locker to do it, which is actually, I think, more important psychologically, and mindset, which is a huge thing, I think, for entrepreneurship, is the mindset of actually being able to do it. Is just kind of having that here's one for you. Do you love to win or hate to lose?
I love to win.
Yeah, same.
I love to win.
I don't like to lose. But okay, so if you had to pick one, would it be love to win or hate to lose?
Love to win. 100%. I don't like for me, that is focus on the winning and the loving rather than the hating and the losing. So instantly, that's why I said it. So losing and hating, I try not to have that in my vocabulary or my mindset. So I would have to say love to win, because that way all you're thinking about is love and winning. If I sat there going, I can't lose, I hate it, then all of a sudden it's a negative connotation, or negative, like your mindset just instantly thinks hate and loss.
And then also with the loss comes comparison as well, which is just the quickest way to feel shit.
I'm not afraid of losing, I'm not afraid of making mistakes, because it's that whole thing of being on
it teaches you, doesn't it?
It teaches you, and you have to do it that way. All right then, so entrepreneurs are doers, they're disciplined. Would you say entrepreneurs are problem solvers?
Oh, they have to be, because that's what they bring to market. They don't bring a product or service to market. They bring a solution to market. That's I always say, there's Starbucks. It didn't bring coffee to marketplace. It brought a nice warm place to go work and sit and meet your friends. You don't buy a drill because you want a drill. You buy a drill because you want a hole in the wall. No one goes and buys a drill. Oh, that's a lovely drill, I'm going to buy that. What are you going to do? Just keep it in a cage, look at it. No, you want a hole in the frigging wall, don't you? It's a solution orientated. They're solution orientated individuals.
I agree. Problem solving is a trait. Winning is a trait. Got to be.
I do think, though, hating to lose is a trait as well, because one man's fire is another man's.
All right. I can agree with that. It's the fear of loss that keeps you going, kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think there is an element. Well, resilience for sure. like, because you can't be in this game unless you're resilient.
Fuck, that's a tough one though. Is it like, because I get days where I'm like,
But that's how you build resilience. Resilience, I don't think, just arrives.
Yeah.
It comes through, being absolutely smashed to fuck, or all day, every day. That's how you become resilient. It's the same for anything that's high performing. You've got to go through it. It doesn't matter whether you're doing a law degree, you got to have some resilience to get through that, or whether you're going through military training or whatever, you got to have some resilience to go through that, because otherwise you're just going to end up with a crap lawyer and a pussy in the army.
All right, what do you think about the term hustle and hard work, right? And what I mean by that is the context by saying that is, yeah, obviously, on the face of it, it's like you got to put the hard work, you got to put the hustling, but in comparison to passion. Now, again, what I mean by that, and an example of that would be, it's easy for me to play football in the evenings because I have a passion for it, but it's not easy for me to get up and go run in the evening because I don't. But they're both kind of, you put the hard work in.
The thing is, like, I can't even remember where I read this, but I read it and it was a great explanation about like, passion is an explosive emotion that is not it's not linear, so it's not ongoing. So like if you think about what passion is and what have you, passion is an explosion or an explosive emotion that then peters off and dwindles. It's impossible to, you can be as passionate as you like about playing football, but you ain't going to do it for 48 hours straight, because yes, the passion is there to want to go play, but it's a non-sustainable, it's a finite kind of,
yeah, even if we're talking
process.
non-cardio work, it's still like your passion might be to read, but you're not going to read 48 hours straight, and it's not as strenuous as obviously playing sport. But
yeah,
is that what you mean? It's just that explosion.
It's not it's like it's also what you call a burst emotion, or it's kind of, you're not necessarily describing something that you're passionate about. It's something that you really enjoy to do or what have you. But like when you talk about like passion, it's an explosive kind of emotion that wanes and dwindles. I suppose a little bit like discipline. Discipline and all that kind of stuff. Willpower is not a it's a finite thing. There's only so much of it within a given time that you're able to do. You give a starving person or someone who's really, really hungry a Mars bar, there's only so long that willpower is going to last before they're going to go dive into that face first. Okay, it's something that that dwindles and disappears. So do
you think it comes with then like energy? So like, it don't matter how passionate you are about something, if you don't have enough sleep, if you haven't slept for 48 hours, you're not going to have the passion for it, because you don't.
I think a lot of things ride on people's ebbs and flows.
Yeah,
like throughout the day, that you'll know yourself that there's points within the day that you have those rise, you have those drops, you have those kind of want to sit in the chair and watch Netflix or something like that, and then it might be 2 hours later you're then like, right, I'm getting the energy to go again, or something along those lines. And it's being self-aware, I think, is probably what we're looking for in terms of, if we're going to label it, is being self-aware enough to know that I'm not going to do X, Y, or Z at this point. So I know for me, if I'm going to go down the gym or something like that, and I'm going to train and actually get something real productive done, say for myself, then 11 to 12 is probably the perfect window for me to go do that. Because that's where, who knows what it is. It could be testosterone's at its peak. I don't know. But that window is where I will get the best out of that there and then. I know that first thing in the morning, if I had to really, I don't know, get into a load of numbers and all that kind of stuff, I'd be baggage. It would need to probably be after lunchtime or something like that, where I've been to the gym, had some food, then sat down and like looked at numbers and stuff. That would be then, So like creative calls, that kind of stuff. Actually, for me, probably 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the evening, because that's when we do a lot of online communication, Zooms and all that kind of stuff. I can be at my best then, but then I know I'm not going to wind down if I'm delivering a call until maybe 10, 11 because of being up on here. So it's being self-aware enough to understand where your ebbs and flows of energy are.
Got it.
I've got the response, by the way, about the
yes. Let's do it.
That's it. Oh wow, he's giving me a minute's phone call. Here we go.
Hey, my friend. It's an interesting deal. I mean, I think it probably happens more on television than it does in real life, but it does happen in real life. But again, most people I know have some closing expression, whether it's "okay, talk to you later" or "call you later" or whatever. Those are usually the kind of things. The actual words "bye" are probably said very seldom. But anyway, I know that doesn't really answer your question. I think it's kind of both. But I'd have to say, when people if people are really saying bye and hanging up on the shows, they're probably just hanging up. So I think in real life, actually, there is probably a little bit more of a closing something, but probably not so much the word bye. Call you later or whatever, those types of things. But no, there's some people, they finish the conversation. Okay. All right, good. Ciao. Or, or whatever. There's already some
Oh, hang on, we've got more.
Or, maybe there's already some predetermined time when they're going to communicate again. So they just don't say anything. But I think the hanging up without any closing expression happens much more on TV than it probably does in real life.
There we are.
Did he give you a closing expression then? He didn't say bye,
No.
He just left it.
No, but that was a voice note. I don't think I would say bye on a voice note either, because that'd just be weird.
Yeah. Maybe. Ciao.
Ciao, yeah. I give it a good ciao every now and again. Don't know why. Yeah. I think I probably got it from my mate. But I think that's entrepreneurship pretty much wraps. I mean, there's definitely
that is wrapped up. Yeah.